So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a personalized basketball. So I'm going to grab my sketch here. I'm going to grab my line tool. I'm going to create that initial basketball. I'm going to make mine 4 inches, but you can choose to make yours what you'd like. To the top of this, to the 0 point on that axis, I'm going to dimension that 2 inches. So it's centered. I'm going to grab my 3-point arc tool. I'm going to make that a 2 inch. Then I'm going to come to my revolve tool. I'm going to choose that center axis, and there is the basis for my basketball. I'm going to hide this so I can make the lines into it now. So I'm going to grab my sketch. I'm going to go to my circle. I'm going to make that same 4 inch from that center point now. Now what I'm going to do is grab that center point circle yet again, and I'm going to go from the top here, and I'm going to go 2.25, which is going to be the start of my lines. I'm going to grab another one, and I'm going to offset this 2.45. The great part now is I can use my mirror tool. So I'm going to mirror over that center axis. I'm going to grab those lines right there, and I've mirrored it. Now for the center lines, I'm going to grab my center point rectangle tool. It doesn't matter the length on this one. So 10 is just fine. And I'm going to go to 0.1, which matches everything else I've done. I'm going to do the same thing going vertically. Again, it doesn't matter the length on this one. We're going to go to that same 0.1, and I can enter. So what you can see now is I have my setup for my lines. What I'm going to do now is grab my trim tool, and I can just hold down that trim tool and cut off all my excess lines that we're seeing here. I'm going to cut off what's in between here. So I'm just left with this shape now. You can spend the time, for the sake of the video I'm not, can clean up these other ones as well, all these little points floating around here, and getting rid of those lines. It's not going to affect what I need to do for this now. So now what I can do is I can come over here to my extrude button. I'm going to do this as a removal. I'm going to go through all. I'm going to do it symmetrically, and I'm going to merge it. So what you can see that does is it gives me my basketball. Now, as I show my parts down here, the reason they disappeared is I didn't have them showing. I'm going to come to that same front plane right now. I'm going to place my sketch, and I'm going to do that same exact process as I did earlier. So I can do that 3.8 inch line because I want a little bit less. I'm going to come to the top here to the center point and dimension that. I'm going to go 1.9, which puts it in its center. I'm going to grab my 3-point arc tool, and again I'm going to make that 3.8 inch. And again, I have a geometry area there which I didn't account for, so I can just simply delete off that geometry area. I'm going to have to go back. So I want that 3.8. I'm going to come to my revolve tool, choose that center axis, and I want to add it to my existing sets of parts and merging all. So what you can see is I have a nice basketball there. So if you want to know how to engrave it and give it, I'm going to go to my right side view. I'm going to grab a plane. I'm going to go to right here. I'm going to offset my plane half the distance on this, which is 2 inches. So as you can see, I brought that plane all the way out. I'm going to place a sketch on that plane right here. Go back to that right side view. I'm going to type in the name of my school here, which is Fairview. Now, for the size of my basketball, let's say I'm going to dimension this to 3 inches. Let's do a ½ inch up from that center point to make it nice and centered. And from the end of this to the middle point, because they were 3 inches, I'm going to center that at 1.5. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I want to extrude this. I'm going to do it as a removal. Now, to make this work a little bit nicer, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come to my settings here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to up to the face of my recording, or my part. I'm going to offset my distance for the engraving. We'll say 0.1 for this circumstance. I'm going to have to flip my direction with this, and then I'm going to merge with all. I'm going to select this portion of the basketball, and I can see that nice engraved text 0.1 inches into the basketball that's uniform, instead of just extruding a set distance, and then different parts have different depths to them.